let's talk about Chris Sims, because I find his quarterback scouting and analysis to be refreshing. It's unique. There's no one like him. And he says things that you won't agree with, some that you do, but he always explains and explains and explains, what I appreciate. So let's start with, I mean, I think you've watched, have you watched this podcast?
I have.
Okay. So obviously there's stuff that we don't agree with. Let's start with what we do. What was one thing that he said that maybe seemed far out and outlandish at first that you're like, you know what, he's actually dead on about?
It's this Mac Jones stuff. Like I'm coming along now with Mac Jones, right? And I think that he kind of, I think it was his second podcast, because he has another one, Unbuttoned, where he curses and he really like is unfiltered. I think it was there where he really explained the fit for Mac Jones and everything. And we've talked about this on your show, right? What are the chances that Kyle falls in love with somebody who his comp is Kirk Cousins, right? Like that's his comp.
Through the roof. And he is a lot like Kirk Cousins. I gotta say.
No, and that's I think that's a fair comp. I think that's his ceiling, right? Yeah. And here's the question that I'll pose to 49ers fans. If you are in on Mac Jones, then you invariably have had to think that Kirk Cousins is an upgrade in any way, right? Because we just talked about it. Kirk Cousins has had the best 2 years of his career, the last 2 years, whether you want to agree with that or not. That's not really up for opinion. Like the way that he's been processing the field and doing things. Yeah, they didn't win a ton of games. Their defense was awful. But if you can't tell me in one breath that you're in on Mac Jones and then say, yeah, no way on Kirk, no chance. Like,
they're
it's
so
the same
similar
thing.
Right. When you think about him, like what does Mac Jones bring to the table? Not physical traits. He's a processor, anticipation, good downfield thrower, not mobile, not big. That's Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. And he navigates the pocket pretty well too, right? He looks like it looks like, look, again, this is my first full year of doing quarterback evaluations. And I think this is what the fun part is about this, is that we can look down the line 2-3 years and say, man, did I get that wrong? Man, did I, and I think that's what's really cool about this, right? Yes. So like, as much as I was down on Mac Jones, I'm getting to the point now that I'm watching more and more. I'm listening to people who are, a lot smarter than I am. I don't want them to dictate my thought process, but when you make a good point, you make a good point, right? And now I'm starting to look at it, and I think the Mac Jones thing really has legs. And it's just when you look at what Kyle has adored about Kirk Cousins, how could you not think that he would be in on Mac Jones? Like that, it kind of just lines up, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. He got Mac Jones right. There are some questions I have about Mac Jones, but calling him Kirk Cousins, that's exactly who I envision him in. The only thing is, would you take a young Kirk Cousins with the 12th pick? Would you?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. Would Kyle? Yes. Yes. And here's the thing. Mac Jones may not even be available at the 12th pick. The Panthers might take him at the 8th pick. The Niners might trade up to get him at number 7. I hope they don't. I like him, but not that much. What I think he got right is the Kellen Mond stuff, obviously. I've been talking about him for a long time, but he said it so well. What I like about him and what he liked is, like, don't even talk about the athleticism. He's a passer. He's polished. He's accurate. He has a strong arm. The completion percentage is more a function of the predictability of the offense and the lack of talent and the SEC and all that stuff. He's really a good passer who gets from A to B to C quickly, seamlessly, as Chris Sims said. And then on top of it, he's a good athlete as well. The comp for him, I've been going around, like, he's not Dak Prescott. Dak's a hell of a player. He's not Colin Kaepernick either, because Kaepernick was like a Greek god. He was like 6'4", 235, super fast.
Was it Croc or was it KP that called him Diet Kaepernick on the round table? I kind of like that.
That's pretty good. I was talking with Vish. This is what Vish said, and I think it's the closest one I've seen yet. Alex Smith.
Okay, talk to me.
Alex Smith. He's he protects the football. He's athletic, but he's a passer first. He's really accurate. He's just a very polished. He wins a lot. He's built about the same 6'4", 217. You wouldn't consider him like a dual threat quarterback, but he's a mobile pocket passer. Alex Smith. And you know what? I've always kind of preferred Alex Smith to Kirk Cousins. Cousins puts up better numbers. Alex Smith just finds ways to win. And I think that the Niners could win with Kellen Mond right away on a rookie deal as a rookie for all the reasons that Chris Sims said. He got me so excited. I feel him on that. I was like, yup.
Yeah.
I like Kellen. And honestly, I think I like him more than Mac Jones because he's maybe not quite as good of a processor as Mac Jones, but he gives you the off-schedule stuff, the rolling out of the pocket stuff that Jones just doesn't offer.
Right. So, you and I disagree with Kellen Mond. I disagree with Chris Sims on this as well. But
what should we go to that right now? What Chris Sims got wrong, or you're gonna talk about Fields with that one? So let's just stick with this one.
Yeah. So what I'll say is this: I don't have to agree with Chris Sims. Because obviously everybody's analysis of other people, for the most part, is going to be subjective to the person, right? And what they look for. Mm-hmm. What I will say is this: when you've earned the track record that Chris Sims has had, right? Because people were all on him about Lamar Jackson being, the number one, right? And everybody, Bill Polian called him a running back. Everybody was yelling at him, right? And it's always around this time that these quarterback rankings come out. It's a good topic of discussion. But if you want to count his losses, you can. If you want to count his hits, those are the ones that you really need to look at, right? And so whether I agree with him or not doesn't matter. The guy's earned enough equity to go out on those limbs, say those things, right?
That's why we're talking about him. Yeah.
Right. For sure.
I take him seriously.
It's a great topic point,
And I don't expect him to be 100% right because no one is, but I take him seriously because he seems like he's closer than other people.
Yeah, no, he is. He is. So, again, I don't want this to be the main reason that I'm like down on Kellen Mond, right? But it's just I can't get that first quarter of play in the Senior Bowl out of my mind. Fair. I was talking with Croc,
and you saw him in practices too.
Yes, yeah. So I was talking with Croc, right, and he said, "Hey, look, man, don't take the Senior Bowl as like the Golden Grail, right?" He goes, "Think about this. You're trying to learn offensive plays while you're there. You don't have the chemistry with guys that are there, right? Okay, so I thought about all those things. The problem is that I didn't have issues with any of that. I had issues with ball placement." While he's on the run, guys are having to reach back here, things like that. Like I said, as good as he played in that third quarter, that's how bad he was in the first quarter, right? And that's the part that I don't want that to be the main reason that I'm down on Kellen Mond, but I can't get those images out of my mind. I can't.
To be fair, didn't you have the same impression of Mac Jones at the Senior Bowl?
I did. So look. So Mac Jones, what he did well, you saw that one throw that was there. Everybody saw that, right? But I think the thing that really kind of put me off was he fumbled a ton in practice. And I'm not talking about being hit and fumbling.
Under center?
Getting the ball and then just having it fall out of his hands. And it happened
he spent his whole career in the pistol and the shotgun. And that's one of the reasons Kaepernick didn't start right away with the Niners, was because of the pistol. He fumbled so much his rookie year in training camp. Same thing.
Right, and as much as the good
that's
press
coachable, but he may not be ready right away.
Well, as much as the good press was out there about Mac, because there were people saying that, it's just the buzz around was just like, remember, they were calling him MEH Jones during the time, and we were at an event before the Senior Bowl, and a guy walks, one of the guys that we're interacting with, he comes up, he's like, "Mac's not playing tomorrow." He's like, "No shot," and we're like, "What? You're in Bama, like this is, and he just was like, he's worried about his stock.
What scares me about Mac Jones is that. Physically, mentally he's got it. Physically, he's not that far removed from Nick Mullins. He's not that much that he is, but less than people want to admit. And when you say that he looked like Med Jones at Senior Bowl, what's he going to look on an NFL field? That's my fear. Is he steps on the field and you're like, oh God, he's small. But here's the thing: he can't move. He doesn't look like he belongs.
The physical thing bothered me too, right? When I was looking at, he looked like, he has a dad bod for a 21
first round for this guy, really.
Right. Okay. But Tom Brady looked weird when he first came out, So again, I'm trying to strip all my stupid biases away from all of these things and trying to be down the middle, right? So I'm coming along to Mac Jones, but these are the things that I can't get out of my mind from what I saw.
Would you agree that let me ask, I'm not gonna would you agree? Who was more impressive at the Senior Bowl in your opinion, Mond or Jones?
Mond. And the third quarter was enough that proved it, honestly. The third quarter, he was lighting it up, man. And like I said, for as bad as he looked in the first quarter, he looked that good in the third quarter. They got some easy throws for him. He looked like he got into a rhythm. I think that anybody that was in that stadium would have said Mond is probably the best out of all of those guys, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if you like Mac Jones, and I do, look at Kellen Mond. Just take a. And here's the thing about Kellen Mond. Don't just look at 2020. That's why I think a lot of people love Zach Wilson, because 2020, every throw, every game is just immaculate. Even Coastal Carolina, he played well. But what about 2019 and 2018? He was a totally different player with totally different results. And I think that's part of the picture, unless you are cool drafting a guy just based on 1 year. With Mond, his best year was 2018. That's when he had his best team around him. So if you can watch the game where he put up 74 on LSU, it's worthwhile.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's always competition, right? So if you did that on LSU, you should take that as something that's big, right? And again, we talked about this. the knock on Wilson, Fields, all these guys, experience. Yes. It's just experience. That's really, I mean, look, they have their knocks and their physical, whatever, things that they do wrong, but really experience. So it's like, aside from Trevor Lawrence, a lot of these guys who just got like 1 year.
That's right. Jones has 1 year plus. Trask has 1 year plus. Fields has a year and a half. Wilson has 3, but only 1 was really noteworthy.